I'm obsessed with the countdown.
I know, I was gonna say, you always laugh when that countdown starts
I
when we start
do.
recording these episodes.
It's like when people say cheese in a picture, and then you
Yes.
go, "I don't actually wanna say cheese, but why is that the thing?" And then there's this weird silence as you wait for the person to take the picture, and then some
Yes,
person's always gotta make a comment.
exactly. I love it.
Anyways, that brings me to the very polished intro I was saying about. I honestly was thinking, what's a great way to introduce this very important topic? We're talking about profit, and people, and what it means for business, and how could we ease into this in a way that feels natural, but also sets the tone?
Yep.
And I haven't figured it out, Joe. I'm still I was this is me still figuring out what's the best way to go. This is worth you listening to. There are
Right,
things of
right.
value in here, but also not sound like I'm reading off a script. And
I
I
love
get
it.
all I this is what I've come up with. We're calling the episode "The False Choice," which I
Exactly.
love.
Yes. It's like the
That's
false
what I'm at.
choice at a wedding, chicken or steak. It's always steak. This is the false choice. I will die on that hill. It's never the chicken,
Really?
it's always the steak.
'Cause it's never gonna be hot enough.
That's
It's not
right.
gonna be hot
That's
enough.
right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, very similar to choosing between steak and chicken. This is me. I'm going to spin an analogy to
Nice.
profit people
Please
say
do.
chicken. No, I don't know how to do that, but I can't use that one. But I do think that this idea, the false choice, is a good kind of lead into what it is that we're trying to talk about
Yes.
because it does feel like that. It's a choice that people don't realize maybe that is it doesn't have to be one or the other. And you actually had a great way you were talking about it. I know we were talking about it before between this profit, the money, even the marriage piece. Remind me
Yeah,
what you
yeah,
were
yeah.
saying of that.
Well, thanks to a great friend, Pasquale, who just had this great observation. Because as we're planning this episode, I was bouncing ideas with him. And we were thinking about, the ultimate point of the episode is we don't have to pick. And I
Yeah.
know I'm still keeping it mysterious, right? But Pasquale said, it's really the origin story of like why it even became a choice. And the origin story is as soon as you organize people around something where people gathered and started working together in any capacity, there became this coordination and then money came into the picture because you need money to accomplish things, right? So as soon
Yeah.
as it was people and money, it became this marriage without ever dating. People and money became,
That's it.
forced together in that way. And that's the false choice. It's like, do we honor the people or do we honor the profit? And it's not or, it's and. And how do we do that right?
And I think we've both seen there are some organizations that do that phenomenally well. I
Yes.
know there's a great example, even just you've done a lot of research about Chapman too, and Bob Chapman and
Yeah. Yeah.
his organization, how he's embraced that kind of mindset.
That's right. That's right. He basically put a stake in the ground with and I have his quote here, we measure success by the way we touch the lives of people. And I
Oh,
think people might look at that and think it's Pollyanna, like, oh, great, no margin, no mission. I just think it sounds extreme because he was saying we are so hyper focused on money and finances. And I know why, because it's easy to measure. It's so easy to measure revenue and profit and business outcomes in
yeah.
terms of operational efficiencies. There's a million ways to measure that. But measuring the human condition, we sort of do the trailing indicator of when your culture's already dead, you learn about it in a survey. You already knew it before the survey. The survey just,
Yeah.
puts the data around the problem that you're having.
Yeah.
I think Chapman might sound extreme, and I think our voice is one of it's not or, it's both. And he might downplay the profit side because he knows it'll come and he's the CEO and he basically got to put a stake in the ground. I think companies who shy away from that are probably shying away because they think, well, we can't do that.
Yeah. And they just go, well, we have it on a poster. You can
Yes.
our
Yes.
we live
Yeah.
these values are up on the wall, and
That's right. That's
that's
right.
not a 25-year ago thing. That is today. There are organizations that go, this is what we believe in,
Right.
and we just it doesn't always connect. Even organizations even like Uber,
Yeah.
when they first started out and they just constantly reinforced the highest performers, or I'm going to use that in air quotes, I should. The high
Yes.
performers that get the
Yes.
five-star ratings are the ones that are getting the benefits, and it's supporting very toxic culture in that
That's
way because
right.
they didn't know how they were getting those 5 stars every
That's
single
right.
time.
That's
And I
right.
know there's lots of other examples of companies even today that are making these mistakes, right,
Oh, yeah.
around the
Yeah, I
choice.
mean, Uber is supporting that old school belief that, it doesn't matter how you get results as long as you get results, and it's rewarding the assholes.
Yeah.
And then another example where it's actually it's not even rewarding the worst people in the organization. It's almost like creating an incentive that
Hmm.
brings people to that line of morality around, well, I'll do whatever it takes because I'm probably going to get fired if I don't. And that was the Wells Fargo thing with the,
Right.
what's it called? The eight
The
is
8?
great campaign. I love,
Yes.
it's like, it sounds good on paper, but it rarely works out that way.
And what okay, but what exactly was that? Because I remember hearing that the 8 is
Yeah.
great, but what actually
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
it was
Yeah, I
something
mean, and
about
I
the
remember this
accounts.
from I had worked for a bank a long time ago, and
Yeah.
all they always talked about the more accounts you have with someone, the harder it is
Oh,
for them to move. Because think about it, if you just have a checking account and you
yeah.
find a better deal, you get an incentive, you're going to leave. But if you have a checking account, a mortgage, a car loan, a savings account, etc., the more hooks they
Hmm,
have in you, and they do talk like that, like
hmm.
like you're almost like the giant, Gulliver's Travels, and you're pinned to the ground because they have so many hooks in you. So Wells Fargo had this genius idea, big air quotes, that 8 accounts is the goal. We want to get every
Oh,
customer to have 8 accounts because 8 is great because I guess they figured with 8 accounts, you'll never leave for thousands of years. And instead of incentivizing people to kind of build relationships and develop relationships to a place where people would want to open 8 accounts, they just created fear where people started fraudulently opening accounts on behalf of customers, which is, as you know, is a big problem in the banking industry. So I think the fine, I don't want to get it wrong. I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 billion,
wow.
in addition to a lot of public scrutiny around what kind of business practices are there. So lots of examples of, getting this wrong where sort of greed drives behavior. And even if we flip it to the other side, where you have a company that has a great mission, one of the coolest movies for like early days of special effects was Life of Pi with that kind of
Right.
beautifully rendered
Loved that.
tiger. It looked
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes.
Sad story. I saw like a mini documentary about
Huh.
them, and while they're accepting their Oscar, they were bankrupt. The company was falling apart
Wow.
because this was all mission, no margin. So, we're not naive, right?
Mm.
You have to have a strategy, you have to have a business focus. And how do you marry the two together? That's really what we're talking about.
It kind of leads just perfectly into why Authentic Unlimited exists in the first place,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Where
Yeah,
it kinda that drove, I know you initially to go down that path of this combination of the 2, and the frameworks that help support that, I think, are probably the piece that's really practical for people too, right? That
yeah,
it's not just talking through it.
absolutely. I mean, if we're claiming that, we can help you merge the two, we have to have a
Yeah,
process and a practice for that. And
yeah,
just one way we do it is a model around what great leadership looks like when you get these elements right. Right? If you think about great leadership that can combine both the people side and the profit side, it's a leader who provides clarity, both clarity of what we want to accomplish as a team and clarity of what you bring to the team. So there's the personal
yes.
aspect and the business aspect. So I'll lay out the whole thing and maybe we could break it down. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
let's do that. Yeah, that's
Okay.
perfect.
So
Yeah,
clarity's first, because without clarity, we don't
yes,
know where we're going. It doesn't matter where we're going, right? Until we decide, like we're heading in this direction, this is what we're trying to accomplish as an organization. It comes down to your team level. You're a leader of a team. Hey, here's clarity of what we're trying to accomplish as a team. And by the way, the human clarity is, hey, John, this is what you do great. I want you to focus on this. Hey, Mary, what are you most energized by? What kind of frustrates you? How can I help you figure out how to have the most fulfilling day between the stuff you do well, the stuff you have to do anyway, and how to not get burned out? So that's just the clarity side. The connection piece is if we want to do great things together, we better be connected. So the personal side of connection is psychological safety and trust. I can be myself around you. I can tell you what I'm really thinking and I can invite your input. And then the connection side on the business side is being connected to the mission and the vision and understanding how we all fit together. And if you
Hmm.
do those things right, you end up in an environment of great collaboration. And collaboration has the execution side of collaboration, innovation, coming up with great ideas, and has the people side of it. It's sharing with one another, it's helping each other out, it's bailing someone out what they needed, it's supporting someone when they're struggling. So those three elements really work together to create this balance of, hey, you can have a great operational success and have financial performance, and you can have
Hmm.
great people and culture and have a fulfilling place where people stay for a very long time because they want to be there.
Yeah, I think even as you're describing the 3, I immediately start thinking of, gosh, sure seen when that worked out really well. And
Yeah.
then I immediately end up with this, oh, I've also seen when it didn't. And I think there's something in that sharing of those experiences.
Yes.
And I have one especially for clarity, Joe, and I don't think I haven't told you this, but it stuck with me because of at the heart of it, clarity around expectations
Yes.
really showed up in a large way. There was I'm in Canada.
Hmm.
I know you know that. I'm just stating that as I'm representing the Great White North because it's relevant to the story. Okay.
Right, right, right.
So so here I am in the frozen tundra, and, this gentleman calls me up, CEO of some company in your fantastic country, and the first thing he says to me, he goes, "Yeah, so, I was told I had to call you, and, we need to bring you down to do some sort of team stuff. Apparently, the exchange rate's better to bring in the Canadian, so when can you do this?" That I said,
How you must have
"That
been really inspired by that,
I
huh?
you know what? It appealed to me in a w I was like, "Well, this I gotta see this guy. I gotta meet this person. This is
Right,
fascinating that
right,
is
right,
your." I
right.
said, "Well, hello, nice to meet you." Um, and as I'm talking to him, basically his VP of HR said he had to go through this step of bringing in someone to do teamwork before he gets rid of his whole exec team. He said, "They're not doing what I need them to. Nobody's delivering. I need to
Uh,
completely start from scratch."
uh,
And so because they could get a deal on the exchange rate, he was willing to let me come down there. And
wow.
I
So
showed
yeah,
up to the
you're almost like the Groupon of
Yeah,
leadership development. It's like, hey, I
yeah,
found this Groupon and I'm going to
totally.
get this for cheap
This
because
is
it's a fake. By the way, this is a pet peeve of mine. Bringing
oh
someone in
god.
as a last resort drives me
Yeah,
crazy. I
but
will
that
not coach someone when I'm brought in to kind of, be the final moment before they get fired as it's almost like this false olive branch of, yeah, we're going to try
yes.
to help you succeed. Hell no.
Yes, and normally I would have agreed with you, but the
Yeah.
VP of HR was a good friend, a past colleague of mine, and
Yeah.
she said, "Please try. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Good.
something more
Good.
here."
Oh, I
And
get it.
also
And I like that challenge. Cool.
just morbid curiosity to meet this individual.
Yes.
So I'll the short version of meeting this individual could probably be a whole other podcast, but basically I showed up and said, "Look, I don't want to waste your time. I just need one thing from you. You can write it on a scrap piece of paper. I just need to know top 3 most important expectations that you have of each of your exec members.
Love it.
Not KPIs, Joe. Not the goal of the company. I just need
Yes.
to know your 3 expectations." He
Yes.
barely looked up. He went, "No problem." He jotted down, literally wrote it on Post-its. Boom, 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 boom. So I left and booked 5 amazing lunch dates, if I'm being honest, because it was in Seattle and they have fabulous restaurants there.
Nice.
And I spent time with each one of these execs, and then I got on a plane and flew home. That was it. And a month later, this guy called me and said, this is a direct quote. "I don't know what kind of voodoo Canadian magic we got going on there, but I'm not getting rid of any of these individuals. And it's
Wow.
been a complete turnaround. I need to know what you did." And I said, Nothing, actually, if I'm being honest. We did have a delicious lunch conversation, but at the end of the lunch, I took your Post it note and I handed it to that leader who'd been working for you for 12 years and said, "By the way, this is what your boss expects of you." Joe, these people were getting this piece of paper and looking at me and going, "Are you kidding me?" Like,
Yeah.
I had no idea. I've been busting my ass doing A, B, C, and D. I didn't realize if this is what he want, then I'll just do that. And I
Yeah.
went, "Well, it's probably a good starting point." And I don't know, I'm sure you've seen that, but when you say
Yes.
clarity, I mean, it sounds like an easy definition. It makes sense when you say it, but I'm like, that's the power of it.
That's right.
They did not know at the heart of it what his expectations were of his team. And so I often challenge leaders to go, if you did that exercise with your people, even on a Post-it note in a meeting, how likely would they be the same?
That's right.
Like the same words.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're touching on such an important one here because that's a case of your what's in your head doesn't always come out of your mouth, right? So you tell yourself a story of what you think you're communicating, and you don't know how it landed. So your intentions don't always equal impact. And I always tell leaders the last thing you should say after an important conversation when you're communicating expectations is, "Hey, KayLee, what did you hear? Like, what did you
Yeah.
hear just now?
Yes, I
Just
love
tell me
that.
what you heard. I want to make sure I was clear." 'Cause don't say, "What did you hear?" Like you're an assessor. Like, "KayLee, what did you hear? Because I don't trust
Yeah.
you. Got it."
Repeat my
It's, "What did you
instructions back
hear?"
to me.
So
Yeah.
I can see if I was clear. Because I want to do my best to give you everything you need to be successful. What did you hear? Please tell me what you heard so I know I got it. And if you need
Yes.
any clarification, that's why it's called clarity, let me know. And the
Yes.
other thing you do is when the meeting's over, say, "Hey, I know there was a lot of stuff. Why don't you think about it, jot down your thoughts, and let's talk again and see if you have any questions." Because I know people have this apprehension of showing their boss vulnerability, not understanding. So they might have been jotting stuff down of all these expectations, say, "I don't know what the hell that means. What does he mean by that? What does she mean by
Mhm.
this? What I don't know what to
Mhm.
do there. I have a lot of questions." Let people know it's okay to have these questions, that there shouldn't be this fear of you have to be perfect. Everything I told you should automatically click for you. So your
Yes.
example is like the quintessential of, you know, he thinks they're failing because he's failing to communicate what he wants from them. That it was as simple as that. And brilliant work with the post-it notes. I mean, that's a great idea. I got to use that one.
Well, I was like, what's the quickest way to get the information? But the human side of that wasn't
Yes.
it's that not just now the shit was getting done, like the results were
Yeah.
happening,
Right.
but the mentality of the rest of that leadership team shifted for themselves personally because they were
Yep.
all leaving going, what am I doing wrong here at the end of every day?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I just you could see it in real time how just having the clarity helped both the organization and the individuals
Yes.
involved.
Yes.
And it didn't have to take a lot of time or money because they got a good deal on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
exactly. That Canadian exchange rate.
practically free. We're just giving it away. The- and and even for the connection part, when you talk about the having the alignment to the
Yes.
mission,
Yeah.
or the connection to the big picture, like how each of the roles in an organization connect to the big picture.
Yeah.
I was at a conference. It was an all company conference for this company I worked for.
Hmm.
And you know how they always have presenters, they cover so much content.
Yeah.
And the thing that stuck with me the most was the head of finance. No offense to my finance folks out there, Joe, but it's not normally the talk that sticks with me the most.
That's right. That's
But
right.
I'll never forget it because the way this guy connected, no matter what your title or role is, to the big picture, I thought was so perfect for everybody in that room. He goes, "Listen, expense reports." And this is how that's how he
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
There's 800 people in this conference. And so immediately everyone's going, "Oh gosh, expense reports." And he's like, "I want to be clear about something. When you charge your Starbucks order every morning to your expense, to your company credit card, the sales team is now forced to sell one full case of our product in order to mitigate your breakfast order." It was the
That's
only
great.
slide he had. It was one slide, and he put a Starbucks cup and then a case of the company product and went, "I just want all of you to know, every time you do this, look to the salespeople on your left and apologize because you're making them sell one more product at work." And I don't know, it might sound extreme, but it hit me, and I
Yeah.
went, like, I don't wanna be the reason that the sales team's having to work harder. And
Right.
I just thought, and it was the thing everyone ended up talking about at
Yeah.
lunchtime and everything else. And
Yeah.
I don't know the exact details of did we see a decrease in expense reports, but I thought, what an interesting way to go, like, you all have a connection to the bottom line in some way, like
Yes.
making your role feel a part of it.
I love it because so many
Yeah.
times that, curtailing expenses feels like just a takeaway. It's like, "Hey, we need to
Yeah.
spend less." It's like, "Oh, why? So we can reward people more at bonus time or whatever," versus
Yeah.
this real practical thing of saying, "Hey, look, if you do this, this is the impact, and maybe that's not the best use of our expenses. Let's think about think of it. Everybody says act like an owner, and I know
Oh, yeah.
that's a heavy thing to say. And by no
Yeah.
means am I saying you should act like an owner because there's lots of reasons why people don't act like owners. For good reason, not acting like an owner because you're not treated like an owner. Um, But if you truly work for a great company, you believe in their mission and you feel connected and you think they have the right integrity, you can act more like an owner. You're going to commit more to those kind of decisions to say, yeah, I don't need to pick up the Starbucks. I'd rather not create a bigger hole to climb out of as an organization financially.
Yeah, they're choosing to. They're going,
Yeah.
"I'm not." It reminds me of a hotel company I worked for, and this same hotel
Hmm.
every year for, like, 5 years straight was the number 1 within the company for engagement scores.
Yep.
Like, just every year, all the time, and they couldn't figure out what it was. And, like, what is it that they're doing down there at this? And yes, they had a great GM, and yes, they had all these great things, and yes, they made a bunch of money. But Joe, you would talk to the employees there. I would ask them. I'd go to the guy at the front desk. You talk to the person parking cars. And I was like, "What is the deal? Like, are they giving you extra pizza? Like, what is that actually the thing? Is it not?" Legitimately,
Hmm.
why are we choosing such like, you are choosing to be engaged in everything? And every single team member at that hotel looked at me and went, "It's not gonna be me that lets the team down."
Oh, wow.
And I
Yeah.
thought, like, they weren't taught that
Yeah.
it's just every single person there. I've never seen pride like that in
Yeah.
every single, from the steward to the front desk. We're like, "Ain't gonna be me. This is my favorite place I've ever worked. Ain't gonna be us that
Yeah.
brings that down. No chance."
Yeah.
Like, I just thought there's a real magic in understanding that connection.
Yes. Right. Because that's the two layers of connection. It's like I feel
Yes.
connected to the organizational vision and purpose and mission. Like I want the organization to succeed. And therefore, I'm connected to my team and peers. I'm not going to let anybody down. And
Yes.
it's like a I love responsibility so much more than accountability because
Mhm.
accountability is almost like a dirty word when it comes to it. It's like you're accountable for those results. No, I'm responsible for those results. I feel a sense of responsibility because I want to make that happen. Accountability is simply saying no matter what happens, you know, it's going to fall on you and you're in trouble for it. It just feels so
Yeah.
negative to me versus I feel responsible for the people around me, the work I do, and we're all in this together. I love that connected story. That's great. So
Yeah.
one more collaboration. You got one for collaboration?
Okay, I might have one
Yeah.
for collaboration, because
No
I was just
pressure.
trying to think about, but a way that it is maybe not in the normal sense that you would use to explain it, because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
when I listen to you define it in that way, especially around responsibility and the shared purpose,
Yeah.
but also, like, bringing others in, this restaurant,
Hmm.
as we know in restaurant world, it's very hierarchical, right? Between
Yes.
who decides
Um,
the menu and the
right.
chef, and it's very much like this.
Yes. Front of the
And
house,
this
back of the house, and top to
Yes,
bottom, right? It's like
yes,
the little army.
yes. And so the clarity is there because everyone knows exactly what your role is, right?
Right.
That
Right.
piece is there. They all know what they have to do connection-wise to contribute, to help each other. If you don't chop the things, the meal doesn't get done.
Yeah.
But I'd never seen any, especially in that environment, embrace collaboration in this way, because this exec chef went, "Look, it isn't just the folks that are defined as chef that can do the cooking. There's
Hmm.
obviously everybody that works here is passionate about food in some way."
Hmm.
And so he went, "I need to find a way to tap into this mastery, autonomy, purpose motivators." And so what he started doing is, once a quarter, they would invite anyone that worked in the restaurant, from hostess to prep cook to the dishwasher. He would open up the kitchen entirely with all the ingredients and everything. And he said, "Everyone is welcome to come, anybody that wants to. And you can
Wow.
create whatever you want. You can cook in any way you want. You can make anything that you want. But at the end of that day, we will have a panel of peers, some long-term guests." One person brought his great aunt. It was just, it was random people all the time,
Yeah.
kind of as the judges.
Yeah.
And so they would allow these people access, and they would let them create dishes, and then they would get tasted. And whichever one got voted on as the best would be the special on the menu the
That's
next
amazing.
week.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I just thought, you're creating this environment where those who may not have had a chance all of a sudden have it. It's almost,
That's
you're
right.
saying, you probably want to do something really cool, but you haven't been given the opportunity. Let me give you the space.
Yes. I mean,
And
you're finding hidden talents. You're
yes.
tapping into. even if it's someone who's worked there and just tasted all your food and said, you know, it would go good together, these two things, and
Yes.
maybe the chef wouldn't think about it that way. So you're inspiring a new thought of combining ingredients you've seen in the it's that's a great
Yeah.
idea. I
It
love
led
that.
to a
I
whole
love
new
that.
array of menu items, whole new dessert options. It started a theme, and it also affected, do you wanna guess what else it affected by being willing to do that? Retention.
Mm, yes.
The the wait list of resumes that started coming in because these people would talk to their friends and go, "Listen,
Yes.
I'm getting the chance to do this here," and
Yes.
they went, "That doesn't
Yes.
happen in our kitchen."
That's right.
And I just the long-term impact of that creating this space for autonomy and collaboration, I just thought that is beautiful, and there's no reason we can't find ways to do that with other departments, organizations,
Oh,
industries.
absolutely. We get so hyper focused on expertise and we forget some of the great problem solving of the in the history of humankind is because a person came at it from a different angle because they had a different perspective. So an
Yeah.
example, there was this whole issue around shipping containers years back. And the shipping
Okay.
container problem was that it took the shipping problem was I gave away the punchline. So I'm a good joke teller. I tell you the punchline first, and then I tell you the joke.
That's what that works
The
for me.
shipping problem was so everyone. I'm going to get that Men in Black pen, and I'm going to do this, and everyone's going to
Freeze.
forget the
Hold
story.
on. Pretend to press the button, watch.
Okay,
Do
there you go.
you have any
So
examples, Joe?
yeah, I actually have a really good example. So
Tell
back in
me.
the day, we would ship things on a cargo ship like we do now,
Yeah.
and it would take hours and hours and hours to remove all the products from the cargo ship. And they tried to solve this by shipping routes. They tried to make the routes more efficient. They tried to
Hmm.
make the ships faster. They tried to solve the literal problem of getting the goods across faster and even trying to remove things from the boat faster. Well,
Okay.
guess who came up with the solution? The guy whose truck drivers were waiting for these boats for hours and hours. And
Hmm.
he said, you know what? I have these trucks sitting here waiting. Why don't you just put everything in a container, take that container off this boat, put it on my truck, and we'll get out of there. So this guy, coming at it from a different angle completely, solved the shipping time problem of overseas goods by saying, put it in a container and take the container off instead of removing the goods. I don't know how they were doing it. It must have been boxes and crates instead of these big, container sized
Right.
that go on
But then
rail cars or
yes.
or or trucks. So yeah, so if I tell that in the right order, it's a pretty cool punchline. So hopefully the Men in Black
It
zapped
works.
and worked.
It
But,
works.
it speaks to, and we're going to do a whole episode on this because when I think about collaboration, the most important thing about collaboration is this notion of including people. It's, we don't, all of us is so much smarter than any one of us. So why
Hmm.
not get more brains in the room and more voices in the room? And at a minimum, when you bring people from different areas of the organization together to collaborate, they go back and talk about it. So like your restaurant story where people told other people about it, same thing
Yes.
happens with it. You want to increase retention in your organization and loyalty? Have people come to a session like what we do, which is like a Dream Frame Summit, where we bring a subset of the organization together to work on something. And all those employees at different levels go back and say, you won't believe the day I just had. And while there's a little jealousy of like, oh, I wish I was there, the bigger message is, I can't believe my company did that. That's amazing. This is such a great place. They included you. You're contributing to something and your voice matters. And that's the magic of real inclusive collaboration where you're bringing people together. So your example of the restaurant is the micro version. And,
Yeah.
we've done it with hundreds and hundreds of people in the room that impacts thousands of people in the organization who have the same feeling of like, how great is it that everybody had a chance to like share their dish? Same type idea.
My gosh, I
I
think
I'm
that
glad I
that's a
could
great
rely on you
quote.
for stories because I have the memory. Oh my God. I'm like, what is the line from Ted Lasso? Um,
Goldfish?
Goldfish. See, I can't remember the line from Ted Lasso.
It's okay, I got you. This is why I'm here. You got the
It's
memory
like
of a
I am a
goldfish.
goldfish when it comes to ideas where I'm always thinking about the next idea and I can't remember 10 stories from the past. I mean, I really needed to have like those meta glasses back then to record my life so I could remember some of these business stories. So thanks to you, we have some great stories to talk about.
No, there's
So
lots there.
I think we know that, these three things, clarity, connection, collaboration, can make a difference in how we lead in both the business side and the people side. And it's really, it's about the intention of it. It's like we put so much energy around the financial performance that people know our intention is to
Mhm,
maximize that and to make that happen. And when we
mhm,
put less energy and effort into the people side of business, it feels like an afterthought. It's like, oh, we might measure engagement. We might look at retention. We might do some cute perks. Hey, here's a subsidized gym membership. But, we're missing that day-to-day that culture emphasis of every day re-engaging people on both the work they do and who they are as a person to make sure they're feeling a sense of fulfillment and they go home energized. Like, let's talk about that a little bit because I think that's the whole point of this. It's when we say making work human, we're talking about, it's always been human, but that earlier marriage of money and people became money was easy to measure. Money was the thing we needed more than anything else, even though we can't get the work done without the people. But money, at least we can count and say, if it's here, we can make stuff happen. So, what's the day to day culture impact that we can, help organizations implement to make work feel like this and not just feel like the imbalance of like always talking about financial performance? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it starts small. I think it starts with, in your one-on-ones and in these conversations because you can
Yes.
say to a lot of leaders, you can go, "Look, are you achieving results through people or at the expense of them?"
Yes. Yes.
And it's an amazing question, but you
Yes.
and I both know how most
Yes.
people will respond to that.
That's
They're
right.
gonna go, "Of course I
That's right.
don't," at the expense of people.
Yep.
So to go a step further and go, "Okay, well, honestly, if I were to ask the people who report to you one-on-one,
Right.
what what is the word they would use or to describe how they feel at the end of a meeting with you
Yeah.
or at the end of the week?" Like, legitimately ask
Right.
yourself like that. If you're
Right.
sitting there as a leader going, "Well, what would my team say if there were no consequences and no
Right.
possible retaliation?" Like, if any of this, if the
Yeah.
safe, trusting peace, just to
Right.
go and ask them, like, what would that word actually be? And I think that's a starting point if you wanna talk
Yeah.
about culture even within your own team. Because if you are thinking, "Well, I don't really know what they would say," or you're making an assumption going, "Well, they would say happy, fulfilled, like, I'm leaving energized,"
Energized.
and I'm
Right.
like, "Good for you,
Right.
sign me up. I have
Yeah.
that sounds wonderful too,"
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
maybe it is, because there are
Hmm.
obviously incredible leaders out there.
Yeah.
But I think some people would be very surprised by the response, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
And that's why you don't need necessarily an annual engagement survey to get that
yeah,
information. And in fact, if you're waiting once a year, it's like, it's like it's like checking the weather once a year and trying to say like that's the average temperature. It's one
yeah,
day a year. It means
maybe in
nothing.
Florida. I'm
Maybe in
not
Florida,
not in
exactly. We kind of
Canada,
cut
I'll
and
tell you
paste.
that.
But like your weather today would not be the most appealing weather probably for me to visit versus your weather in, July.
This is true, or the same. It could just be also snowing.
Yeah.
But, no, I don't wanna
Snowing in
derail because
July. That's the most Canadian thing you've ever said.
I'm really trying to catch my A's as well. I don't know if that's coming across or not, but,
Yeah,
we'll see if I
I
can.
think you've been good. You've been, hey,
Oh my
just be
goodness.
yourself, whatever it is. No, this kind
Yeah.
of like, pulse check-in, this little check-in of
Yeah.
like, how am I doing? Right. And if you're not afraid, if you, as a leader, if you're afraid of asking that question, you already know the problem.
Yes.
Like if you can't ask, hey, how am I doing? You getting everything you need? Am I, how can I help you be more successful? How do you feel about the workload? You feel that you, and obviously, you have your delusional employees occasionally who they're always going to complain.
Oh,
But
yeah. That'll
let's not, we got to stop managing to the lowest common denominator of employee. We have to stop creating rules because one person can't work from home and they're going to just basically walk their dog all day and watch movies. Doesn't mean we don't allow other people to work from home who we trust. So it's like trust is earned and every person you trust gets the treatment of a trusted person. In this case, the same thing. Sure, you're going to have some employees who always need more, but many of your employees, the vast majority, are going to be excited to have you ask them, "How can I help? What else do you need to be successful? How are things going? What's working? What's not?" Because we want to know that people leave work feeling a little more energized versus drained. Because if your employees are
Yes.
going home every night drained, the sustainability of that is zero. Eventually, that'll come back and bite you in the ass, and people will be leaving. They'll stay and they quit, whatever the case may be. But you know, people are not an endless resource of energy.
Yeah.
And when I coach people, I mean, you would think like coaching a more senior executive who, you know, most people would think they have the life, right? Because it's like they make good money, they're in a great position, they have pretty good job security. They do what we all do. They save up their time to feel good for like a weekend away, and then they burn themselves out for 3 months. And then they have a week away, and then they burn themselves out for 3 months. And just talking to leaders in coaching and in workshops about renewal is a daily task, not a quarterly task. So, how do you find energy throughout the day? Take a walk, have a laugh, have lunch with someone. That's where I worry about remote work because I
Mm.
get it. Like, I don't like commuting either. And I also miss talking to people in a room and sharing a meal. So, how do we balance that a little bit with the human side of connection and collaboration to say, hey, I don't necessarily have to go to work every day, but that human interaction fills me up. So, how do we get some of that? So, I think managing your energy and feeling engaged is a daily task. What do you think of that?
I do. I agree. It's a daily task. And even I think it's worth calling out the answer to the question, even if it's asking your team, doesn't always have to be perfect and rosy.
Yes.
Like when I just
Yeah.
want to clarify when I'm
Yeah.
saying ask your team how they feel, if they're going like, listen, yeah, I'm feeling pretty drained today.
Yeah.
How about the fact that they're telling you and being honest about the feeling is better in my mind than them looking at you going, yeah, I'm all good.
Yeah. Because that's the
You
mask,
know what I
right?
mean? Like, it
That's the
so
mask.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
where it's saying, like, these check-ins or these moments where you like, are we managing energy? Or checking in with your team. If you do it genuinely and get a genuine answer, that's what we're looking for. Because then you can go,
Yes.
"Okay, what can I take off your plate to make you feel less drained tomorrow?"
Yes.
Like, what's the thing I can take from you and make just a little bit easier tomorrow? Because you're not gonna solve everybody's problems and everything isn't gonna be perfect, but finding those moments, I think, is really important, and it kinda leads into where we're going with the next episodes too, right?
Yeah.
Just making everything more practical in that way.
That's right. That's right. I want to add something to what you said because I think it's so important and there's such
Okay.
a practical aspect to it before we go to that. And that is level one is asking the question. Level two is asking the question enough where you get a real answer. Think about that for a minute because you might ask the question, but people don't believe you. So they give you the masked answer of, I just want to make my boss happy. So everything's great. Level three is them coming to you and telling you that they're drained. So now they're actually anticipating your concern. And level
Yeah.
four, I just made up these levels,
Okay.
is you noticing. And get through these levels fast,
Okay.
by the way. You noticing means, hey, KayLee, you seem off today. Anything
Yeah.
going on? You okay? By the way, notice that. Are you okay? Not what's your problem, not you have a bad attitude, not you seem whatever. No judgment. Curiosity. Curiosity is your friend. How are you? You seem a little different today. Is everything okay? You notice that you really have an amazing relationship with your team member because if you're right and you notice it all the time, they're thinking this person really cares. And wow, when you care, they care, and all that extra effort comes, right? That discretionary effort is the secret sauce of thriving companies. It's people give effort to keep their jobs, minimal effort. People give a little more effort when their job is pretty good, and then they can give this extra effort when they really love it. And that extra effort doesn't cost them anything because it's not a draining effort, it's a fulfilling effort, and it renews very easily. So I just wanted to add that because I think it's a big miss for leaders sometimes where they just think, I've asked the question, but are you getting the real answers? Keep asking.
Yeah. And it's okay to guess wrong.
Yes, exactly. As long as you do it in the way I mentioned, right? If you guess wrong without an accusation, like what's your problem is the wrong way to guess wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
No, exactly, but it's
Yeah,
your willingness to try.
that's right.
It's
That's
a
right.
starting point. It's a
So you're
starting
saying the
point.
future, right? You were saying the next couple
Okay.
episodes and where we're headed.
Yeah, well, this is my effort to give a teaser, like, do we
Yeah,
want more?
do it.
That
Do it.
well, it is in that way though, because I do think if along this path, we've talked about the 3 C's, trying to give some examples to that. The
Yep.
next piece is really about going, okay, what does this expanded success look like in practice?
Yep.
And how
Yep.
can we answer that in a way where these are the frameworks, either from a change management standpoint and or embedding in this culture piece that I think we can touch on. We can talk about like who's doing it well and give real life scenarios and examples in that way. So yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
excited to get into it.
And we are committed to learning as we go.
Yeah,
So you listen and tell us what you think, and we'll adapt because we are always thinking about what makes the most sense for people listening or watching, because this will be on YouTube and also on the other podcast apps. Because we're not here to talk to each other only, even though we love it and it's a great conversation. We're here to help you have a better time at work, have a better experience at work. And if we're giving you that, great. And if we're not, tell us, and we're happy to adapt because we want to make sure this makes sense to you and is practical and useful.
perfect. Well, sounds good. I will see you in a fortnight.
I love that. So
Is
you
it
think everyone knows a fortnight is 2 weeks, or should we explain that this one time?
No, don't explain it. I think we don't let it hang because then if anyone cares enough, they might be like, that lady keeps using that fancy word, and maybe they'll look it up.
Or they're young enough where they play Fortnite and they think you're a gamer.
Oh, I'm appealing to different audiences, Joe.
Well done. Well done. Well, great chat, KayLee. Talk to you soon. We'll see you
Okay.
next time.
Okay.
Ciao.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.